Oh, what? So you can make noise during it and I can't? That's bullshit. What's up, Nerfherders? Welcome back to the show. We are here. Star Wars Celebration has come and gone. We've gotten some new stuff. We've gotten some movies. We've gotten some Mando. We're gonna talk about it. That's kind of it. Josh, I know you're feeling like crap, but I'm gonna ask anyway. How are we doing?
We're doing better. We're doing better.
You're almost there. You'll be out of the woods soon. I feel it.
I'm going on week 4 of this turmoil, but it's the best week yet. So,
I mean, yeah, I any upper respiratory infection, I have a massive amount of sympathy for you because I have asthma. So anything that I get hits me like a truck. Although I'm pretty sure you caught it at Planet Comic-Con, and I'm really glad that I didn't catch it. So I do feel a little sorry that I have to be like, yeah, I ducked this one.
I'm so glad you didn't. I'm so glad you didn't.
Yeah, it's like I sympathize with you, but I'm really, really happy that I didn't catch it. Planet Comic-Con was awesome. If anybody actually went, I hope you guys had a good time too. This was my second year, and it was a really good time.
We had a big group this year.
We had a big group this year. We ate a lot of food. We did a lot of hanging out.
We ate too much food.
I bought this hoodie for.
It's good hoodie.
I can't even remember the booth that I bought it from. I wish I would have repped them, but yeah, no, I didn't spend anywhere near as much money as I did last year, so that was nice.
That's good.
Planet Comic-Con was quite ahead of the curve as far as Star Wars Celebration is concerned, so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff on that, and I don't think Planet Comic-Con has quite gotten to that level to where like studios and stuff like that are attending and releasing stuff. I hope they do. That would be really, really cool. Especially considering Star Wars Celebration this year kind of hit me a little bit different. I don't know. In previous years, it's been kind of like a steady decline. And I think this year was the first time where Star Wars Celebration was coming out and I didn't follow it at all. Which as I guess a pop culture commentary channel person is probably a really bad thing. I'm not holding up to my job too terrible well, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm just getting kind of jaded with Star Wars lately or what, but there's just the allure that I used to have for Star Wars back when I don't know. I would say that the allure for Star Wars really kicked back up when they announced the new sequel trilogy and The Force Awakens was going to be coming out and everybody was going fucking insane. And then it came out and it was actually, I didn't think it was that bad. Although it wasn't exactly groundbreaking as far as Star Wars stuff is concerned. And that trend kind of continued throughout the sequel trilogy. Divided fans more than I think even the prequels did, honestly. And then the shows have been coming out through Disney Plus and stuff like that has been going on to only cause more unrest in the Star Wars world. And so now we're in a situation where we've gotten a really good look about what Disney's plan kind of is for the Disney Plus side of the Star Wars universe and what they're doing with the TV shows and what they're doing with and now, as it appears, what they're going to be doing with new movies. And this is the least excited I have been to find out new stuff about Star Wars. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but
I'm feeling indifferent because let's be fair. This isn't the first time that they've wheeled out a big slate of what's to come with directors and titles. And we got these movies coming. We got these shows coming. And then a year or less later, or multiple years later, turns out, actually, those aren't coming. They've either, it's either in the case of who directed Wonder Woman,
Patty Jenkins.
It's either in the case of her movie, it's been completely canceled. In the case of Taika Waititi's movie, it's just out there. In the case of Rian Johnson's movie, some people are saying it's completely been canceled. Other people are saying it's on indefinite hold because he's knee deep in Glass Onion. and has no current plans to return, but they haven't technically canceled it. So it's just like, you know, and it's the same thing with Marvel now too. It's just like every time they come out and they announce more than two things, then you're just like, okay, but how many of those things are actually going to happen? You know, how many of this is just you trying to get us excited for something, but there's no real pen to paper stuff yet, you know? So
Yeah.
I mean, I am excited about a couple of the things that they've announced, but I'm curbing my excitement because I really don't know if it's in stone yet. You know, you would think if they announced it, it would be, but that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I was seeing conflicting stories about Rogue Squadron, which was going to be Patty Jenkins content coming out. They're not claiming that it is completely dead. They're still saying, like, I mean, we just had an article come out saying that it Kathleen Kennedy says, quote, Rogue Squadron is still definitely something, says Lucasfilm never discussed an idea. And says Lucasfilm never discussed an idea with Kevin Feige, which I don't know why
Did she
Kevin
just say
Feige's entering this
definitely
talk at all.
something?
Is definitely something. That's
so encouraging.
That's super encouraging. And there's a bunch of articles about how Patty Jenkins was just horrible to work with, and that's why it was going downhill. But I also saw some stuff coming around that apparently Kathleen Kennedy's job is up for debate in the Disney world as well, and it's kind of dependent on some Star Wars film promises that she's been able to make, and for the end of 2025. And it sounds like all these shows and stuff that was going on might have been distracting her from that, and so that might have had a big play with it. But either way, we did get to see a slate of content that they revealed, they continued, that they from previous announcements. I'm thinking specifically the Acolyte, which is set pretty far away from the rest of Star Wars content that they have produced thus far as the Star Wars timeline goes. And that's actually the piece of Star Wars content that I'm the most excited to see information about, and it has been the most not talked about Star Wars topic so far. They did some reveals on some cast, and that was about the end of it. And honestly, like the stuff that's coming out of Star Wars Celebration right now has been kind of upsetting.
That's the public stuff. It looks like they did release some footage for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew for the people in attendance, but that didn't come out to us.
We'll be waiting a few days for that, unless somebody's decided to leak it online, which is.
I think the Skeleton Crew stuff leaked a little bit, but it wasn't great footage. But yeah,
who knows? No, they got to be really sneaky about it. While I'm in absolute agreement that Star Wars is not dead, I've been seeing that claim made out a lot, and that the plans that they have for the future of Star Wars is just an absolute disaster. I can't get on board with that mindset. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic about what I want, because I am a Star Wars fan, and I have been for the majority of my life. It's just kind of tough to see with this slate that we've got coming up. So you pulled up an IGN article. We're just going to dive into it. And I find that the question that they ask is actually probably the most telling about what's going on. So it was, what was your favorite reveal from Lucasfilm Studios Showcase at Star Wars Celebration 2023? The options were 3 new Star Wars movies from James Mangold, who recently did what was it? It was
Logan. Well, he did Logan.
Logan. That one was the one I was thinking of. Dave Filoni, of course, Papa Dave. We know about that. And Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who I am not familiar with. Daisy Ridley's return as Rey in a new movie set after Rise of Skywalker. Ahsoka's official trailer. First look at live-action Star Wars Rebels characters, and the Mandalorian clip and tease of a beloved returning character. Now, I've not seen the Mandalorian clip that teased a the
Neither have
return
I.
of a beloved character. I'm not entirely sure what they're talking about there, so I got to figure out what that's all about. But the top vote came out as Ahsoka's official trailer at 45.7% of the vote, out of 15,627 votes. So not a very substantial number in comparison to the Star Wars fandom. But and then in a not so close second place, it was 3 new Star Wars movies. Now, when I see 3 new Star Wars movies, and I reading into the article, this is not. I know that this isn't the case, but when I saw 3 new Star Wars movies from 3 separate directors, I thought they were going to double down and make the same fucking mistake that they did with the sequel trilogy, and jump into a trilogy set up by 3 completely different directors. And we'll get into why I dislike that choice when we start talking about Mandalorian here in a little later. Daisy Ridley's return as Rey was slightly surprising to me to see that announced, but like you said earlier, that could go fucking nowhere. That could end up completely changing. It got 16.5% of the vote, so fans were not exactly stoked about that.
Well, I mean, how long have they been saying, hey, what we think now we need to finally do is take a step away from the Skywalker saga?
100%.
And of course, unless they plan on retconning, what was it, The Last Jedi or whatever the last film was, where she said
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah, where she said Rey Skywalker. Unless they plan on retconning that, then this will continue the Skywalker saga in name, at least. But I think I like Daisy Ridley, although I love how I'm going to share this. I love how share screen. Let's do that. I love how Vanity Fair, she came out with a new film at Sundance, and they went out of their way to like, Daisy Ridley leaves Star Wars behind with her new Sundance film. And then at the end, they're like, she's reinventing herself for setting the stage for new discoveries to come. And then her next big announcement is that she's coming back. To Star Wars. So,
Yeah.
But I don't like they didn't give us much other than it will feature Daisy Ridley back as Rey as she builds a new Jedi Order. I mean, like, did they not learn the majority of the reason people didn't like her in the sequel trilogy is that everything just came to her. There was 5 seconds of training, and then all of a sudden she was just everything. Now she's going to take Luke's shoes and rebuild the Jedi Order, after we see her kind of like exile herself at the end. It's just like, well, I don't know, man. Is that really the direction you feel that people want this to go? I'm not saying I'm against seeing more of her, but all of a sudden she's going to rebuild the Order?
So, as a deep cut Star Wars fan, a lot of content post Revenge of the Sith, and even during that time of the movies, during that timeline, was a showcase about how the Jedi had been corrupted beyond what they were originally intended to be. They became pseudo politicians. There was a quote from Taron Malicos. He's a character in Jedi Fallen Order, and he's speaking to Cal Kestis about the fall of the Jedi. He said the Jedi fell long before the Purge, and this was kind of a downhill spiral that they had been going to. The Jedi Order is not as interesting as it used to be. The curtain has been kind of pulled back. We've seen the inner working. We saw it in a time where it wasn't exactly the High Republic, which they have a book series on right now. I've read one of the books out of it. I was not impressed. That I can talk about that another time. The Jedi Order is not as interesting as it used to be, and it shouldn't be. Like, there should be very much a new direction being taken. And so trying to say that she's going to rebuild the Jedi Order is like, okay, for what? For what? It was like the Jedi Order were not instrumental in the defeat of the First Order, I would argue. Like you had a world in Star Wars of people who are not force sensitive, who are not superpowered space wizards, who are fighting off a major superpower. And then in Rise of Skywalker, they completely turned that shit around and decided that that is what we need. We need more space wizards. We need more space wizard fights. Where that I still feel like that was just a horrible decision for them to make, and even not going with an original villain. And then we've got them on the Disney Plus show coming out with content like Andor that has absolutely no force sensitive beings, none of that shit, and was arguably the most entertaining pieces of Star Wars content that we've gotten in a long time.
For people like us, I think
For
the
people like
Ahsoka,
us, for sure.
I think the Ahsoka trailer and the amount of lightsabers in that trailer is a direct response to the people that didn't like Andor.
Yes, but if you're pandering to a crowd that are doing nothing but bitching and whining about the content that they've really put their heart and soul and passion into, like Andor, like the first couple seasons of Mandalorian, where they were trying to tell like a Jedi-less Star Wars story, and then having it be these same people who are like, you have to do it this way, even though we don't like what you've made, we trust you to make it if you just listen to what we say. And then you just end up pandering to them, just giving them what they want just to shut them up.
Hence
I mean, you're gonna get
trilogy.
You're gonna get some uninspired dreck that's just filling a spot that people want to see. Is like, now I understand there's always been a large element of Star Wars that has been catered specifically towards kids. That's come out of George Lucas's own mouth. That's come out of Dave Filoni. It's like that you want these stories to give hope to kids just as much as you want them to be entertaining to adults. But even kids, like if you're gonna have a piece of content that you're gonna watch as a child and then grow up loving, I mean, it's gonna be a hell of a lot more effective if the entire family can get behind the story. And if you're pandering to like the youngest demographic of it, and the dumbest and most easily entertained of the other demographic, like it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna work out, and I can't get on board at this point.
That George Lucas quote was always misquoted as well. He wasn't saying that all Star Wars is for kids and kids only.
No, that's why I said specifically there was always a section that had to appeal to them.
But he's what he was saying when he said that, at least the quote that everybody seems to use, he was saying that Star Wars, the first movie, was not catered towards kids, but was there for kids to enjoy and then grow as the characters grow. And that was the most innocent of the movies, and then it continued on from there. Not that Star Wars is for kids and kids alone, and you're an adult, shut up, you shouldn't have any expectations.
Well, I think the writing is on the wall with the content that they've been coming out with for the majority.
Yeah,
like the majority of Star Wars content has very much been something that is not crazy complex. Is super easy to understand, super easy to be entertained by, and you have more mature Star Wars fans who don't get sucked in that easy.
Anyway, back to Celebration. Kathleen Kennedy did speak on these films. She said all three of them are pretty far along in development. These are,
which could mean that they are almost done writing the scripts at this point. For all we know,
correct.
That does not say much.
She said these are things, as you can imagine. Certainly, looking at what Dave's been doing with Ahsoka, that'll be at least 6-7 years building to what it is we're going to be doing in a movie. So, they've got a lot of stuff coming on the Disney Plus window. They talked about Andor coming next year. They talked about Skeleton Crew. And then they talked about the immediate things coming out with dropping the first trailer for Ahsoka. Is that something you want to, I know we've both seen it. Is that something you want to view, or you just want to talk about it?
Honestly, I'm getting tired of tangoing with YouTube's copyright BS that they keep throwing at us every time we play a trailer. So we don't need to run it right now, but
okay. I'll just put something in the background for that then.
Yeah, just throw us up a graphic or something like that.
Now,
I will say that the Ahsoka trailer even gave me mixed feelings.
It grew on me to the point where, like, the first time I watched it, I was distracted, and I was like, okay. The second time I watched it, like, alone on the TV with the volume up, like, soaking in the soundtrack and everything,
Mhm.
I did get chills. I'm super excited for that show.
I'm excited for it as well. But the problem that they're running into there is that a lot of it is they're coming into the Marvel syndrome now, where Star Wars has so much established history, and they're dealing with characters who already have an established history in other IPs. That like if you haven't seen Clone Wars, which a lot of people haven't, if you haven't seen Rebels, which even more people haven't seen, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're dealing with in Ahsoka that nobody's going to understand. And so they're going to have to kind of like we're going to have a lot of exposition around that. Don't get me wrong, it was super exciting to see Sabine in there. Like as soon as I saw her hair, I was like, holy shit. Seeing Hera and Chopper in there was awesome. I loved seeing that. But like I'm coming at it from a spot where it's like, hey, I've been entrenched in this content for a while now. Like we rewatched Clone Wars not too terrible long ago. I'm rewatching Rebels again in between shows. Like there's a lot. There's a lot to a lot of context that you need to have beforehand. Catching the little bits that you get of Ahsoka and the Mandalorian is not enough. It's not enough to understand the full context of what she's wanting to do. And all the while, they're revealing Thrawn, which is somebody that everybody who had like read books or seen Rebels was freaking the fuck out about. Like it was crazy excitement. Or anybody who was interested in the extended universe of books that came out in the recent decades. But the majority of people are gonna have no fucking idea who this guy is. And so it was like, how do you establish this guy as like a new true blood villain or a new true blue villain? I was gonna say true blue just to throw in the pun, and I fucked it up. As a new true blue villain with this crazy established history of like absolute sinister badassery, and get all of that out of the way just for this show without like filling in that context, without like a bunch of exposition or
there are theories. He's been mentioned in Mando context, and there are theories that he could possibly still show up as the big bad at the end of the Mando season.
Do you feel like they would do that after revealing him in the trailer here? I feel like that would have been a great show reveal.
I feel like we'll talk about this later, but I feel like Mando season 3 is so unbalanced that I wouldn't put it past them.
Crazy.
I would not put it past. We got 2 more episodes left in the season.
And nothing's happened.
Nothing's really happened. So I really would not put it past them to drop it in the season finale.
You throw a Hail Mary in the last couple of episodes. You got to do something. But even then, I don't think it's going to help them much.
Let's just, I understand what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of relevance to what you're saying, and I think you're right to say what you're saying. And I think you'd agree. My only hope is that this is Dave Filoni's baby. This is a character that Dave Filoni made. Yeah. Dave Filoni, the Clone Wars is something that the majority of people have not seen, but it's still something that those people that have seen it, profess. This is the glue that holds the prequel series together. This is the things that he's done in Clone Wars and Rebels. You just wouldn't imagine the significance of it until you've seen it all. And then you've seen these shows and you see how they're interwoven together to not make it more complicated, but to make it fleshed out. So I am reserving hope that this show, which could be overly complicated and overly bogged down with, all this stuff, and people having to explain and expo dumps and all that. I think he has a way to present it to where it could be good. And I'm gonna hold out hope that Dave Filoni knows what he's doing and that this won't be a Boba Fett nightmare or something like that.
I can't do anything but agree that optimism would be the better route to take, but it's getting harder. Like it's getting harder with the letdowns are becoming more frequent.
But
That's getting
but
brutal.
this
But
is
like
his.
having optimism towards this, because yes, he has been responsible for some of the best Star Wars content ever.
But like
Uh,
even the TV shows, Dave Filoni is this is the most he's been involved in a show, correct? Like,
I don't know.
because I don't
Uh,
think he was as hands on in Boba Fett or Mando as he's been with this. I mean, Mando is more what's his name's baby, Favreau's baby.
and Mando's had like a different director every episode since its
Right, but
inception
the
as well.
showrunner is Favreau, and Boba Fett, the showrunner was Spy Kids guy, and so I think
Is the Rick dude or something like that? Yeah.
Dave Filoni was always kind of in the background, but I believe he's super hands on with Ahsoka, so I think that in itself is a
Well,
way to be.
he would have to be. Ahsoka is his character. Like Ahsoka is his Luke Skywalker. Like that's yeah. That one's Ahsoka is a huge character for him. And so yeah, I have more hope that Ahsoka is going to go well, but I have to. So not everybody out there is going to have a fucking co-pilot nerd sitting there watching them to be able to explain some of the backstory and context like Cece has with me. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in the Mandalorian that I've had to like kind of like fill in some of the blanks for her, because like the Clone Wars didn't appeal to her. Rebels does not appeal to her. It's like that, especially as an anime fan, like that particular type of animation does not get her excited. She's not super big into it. Um, and then like a piece of Star Wars content that we've completely ignored thus far, as far as talking about, and like for a while now, that Dave Filoni is very involved in, is the Bad Batch. And the Bad Batch has been I mean, they've had a couple gems in there, but for the most part it has been pretty par for the course, which I guess is the best that we can hope for a piece of Star Wars content now. But they've been like almost dead quiet about it. Like, and that's a like, and we're kind of wondering, is like, okay, what is this building into? So because they're just telling an okay story
Well,
every single episode.
they did announce at Star Wars Celebration that season 4 will be the finale.
Yeah,
But
well, they're here at season 2, like,
no, they are. Isn't this season 3?
of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, isn't this season 3?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe I was confused. Yeah, we're on
Bad Batch
season
will
2.
return for a third and final season on
Yeah,
Disney Plus.
so I said 4th instead of 3rd.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say, whoa.
So maybe it's just a middle season that's just not as good. But
I mean, I've out of both of us, I have been advocating more than fucking anybody that 3 seasons is the hot spot for a television show.
So maybe they're listening to you.
So they're listening to me on that one. They're doing this well. Like,
this is the case. You know, I'm looking at my shelf full of all of the pre-Disney, prior canon, now the extended universe or whatever they call it now, whatever the Legends universe of Star Wars books. And for decades, we wanted, characters like Mara Jade and stuff like that to come on the big screen. And the question is always, do you give them an origin film, or do you find a way to weave them in without having to bog people down with so much context? And I believe Dave Filoni, in terms of Star Wars, is the master of weaving people in. So I think if there's a chance that he's going, because clearly he showcased a bunch of them, plus new characters. We got 2 new Sith-looking folks in the trailer. I
Sith, but not
seriously
quite Sith. Like kind of a gray area there. Where
maybe
they had like their lightsabers like orange.
Yeah. So and there's an extended version of the trailer that leaked that shows a little more action. I just feel like there's a good chance that Dave Filoni knows what he's doing, and will find a way to weave it in without having to introduce. I think there's a way that he'll be like, hey, these characters are from this. If you want to see more, go back. Not, oh, you don't understand it? Fuck you. You know, you're not going to understand the show. I'm sure he's got a way to weave him in there for the nuanced and new fans. And I'm hoping that's the case. I can't see him dropping the ball on this show. So we'll see.
I mean, I certainly hope not. Like,
but the trailer gave me goosebumps. The music of the trailer was just like,
the music was great. The music was really good.
It does look crowded. I mean, for a show called Ahsoka, it seems like it's Ahsoka and the Rebels. But it does look crowded.
I mean, I've got an article here also from IGN. Says the first Ahsoka trailer promises a full-on Star Wars Rebels reunion.
Seems like it.
Which I mean, there's plenty of recap videos out there of Rebels if you don't want to go through the entirety of watching all those seasons of TV. Then yeah, I would definitely give that a go as kind of like your quick recap of it, though. I don't know if a quick recap is a good way to do it. There's a lot there.
One more thing about that is that in the trailer that was shown online, Thrawn was not revealed. In the trailer that leaked online, Thrawn was revealed to be that of Lars Mikkelsen, Lars Mikkelsen, who voiced Thrawn in the show.
Good stuff.
So he is returning to play the on-screen version of his animated character. And now both of the Mikkelsen brothers have been in the live-action Star Wars. So,
oh, Mads got it dirty. They fucked Mads up, man. I didn't fucking like that, but Rogue One is still a great movie.
Maybe he'll have a cameo in Andor season 2. Who knows?
I mean, it makes sense. Like, it would make sense.
But if you do look, I'm not going to show anything from it because it was leaked, but you can see the leaked version of the trailer, and it shows him, the front of him in full makeup and everything, and he looks pretty good. So,
I mean, like, Filoni's done pretty good about making the live action version of his animated characters so far. I don't think I've seen a single one that was really that bad.
And Timothy Zahn appreciates Lars Mikkelsen, as he told me directly. So he approved of the Rebels version. He likes the voice. He also likes the guy that voices him in the audiobooks for the newer Thrawn trilogies. But yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
He told me a year ago at Planet Comic-Con that he very much approves of the rumor of Lars Mikkelsen, and now it's no longer a rumor. So
yeah, I get the more we talk about it, I guess it makes sense that we would see something involving Thrawn and the Mandalorian here before it's over. I hope that isn't the case. I hope we just get a hint of him or something like that. But with Giancarlo Esposito's character, like, arc, I guess we can just go into talking about Mando at this point. That was kind of like the next up on our block anyway.
Yeah, I did look up to see what they were referring to. They showed a clip of what's his name, Jar Jar coming back in Mando, and they kind of re-celebrated that moment.
Ahmed Best.
Yeah, that's what they were referring to. So they just kind of re-talked about bringing him back and and everything. So we can just talk about it briefly because there's other Star Wars celebrations stuff we got to talk about. But
yeah, but we got 2 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
We've already gone over the debacle that was Boba Fett, and I'm a little surprised that he has not shown up again in any capacity whatsoever, or Ming-Na Wen's character Fennec. Perhaps, but again, 2 episodes left.
They had to bring in Mando to save his show. Do you really think they're going to return the favor?
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, as far as like the story context is concerned, I think it would make sense that Boba might be interested in like trying to help Mandalore, but I don't know. Again, 2 episodes left. That would be another reveal. Like, first of all, with the latest episode, as much effort as they went into to create some less than enthusiastic characters just to get some celebrity cameos in there. In the last couple episodes, I can absolutely see them bringing out Boba Fett, or at least Fennec Shand, at least Fennec, to have her kind of like help out with something to some degree. I don't know what kind of job they're going to give to an assassin on a planet that's mainly deserted, but I mean, fucking, you never know. The direction around Mandalorian so far has been incredibly confused. I think is the best way to describe it so far. I don't know, what have your thoughts been on it since like up to this point?
I feel like it's been a very unbalanced season. It's definitely got, I think I told you maybe this was in the first episode. I was like, oh, this is where all the Boba Fett money went to. Like, they definitely have more money. But I feel like, I do miss some of the feelings that I had. Like, thinking like Bill Burr's episode in season 2,
Dude,
stuff like
chills,
that.
man. That was
Those,
nuts.
and I've even seen memes of we've gone from this, and it showed a picture of Mando and Bill Burr sitting at the table with that asshole, trying to keep their cool, to Lizzo and Jack Black. And I'm not saying Lizzo and Jack Black were terrible. I'm just saying that the season has felt unbalanced, and it just seems to be focusing on giving so much attention to certain things. Like there's two episodes in this show that showcase how pathetic the Mandos living in the cave are. Like, how many times are they going to be attacked on the beachfront before they're like, maybe we shouldn't be, playing out here without somebody on the things. Like in the first or the second episode, whichever episode it shows, they get attacked from the sea, and it kind of looks funky, but whatever. Mando comes in, saves them. Like an episode or two later, they're back out on the beach practicing, and they get attacked from the air. And based on the dialogue, it's not the first time it's happened.
Oh, and they seem also, like there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, like, oh, it gets away all the time. How did all these Mandos get there? Do they not have a ship? They don't have one ship? Did somebody drop them all off there?
For people who are revered as bounty hunters or hunters in general, they seem pretty shit at it.
They seem pretty shitty, and to the point where what's her name comes in, Bo-Katan, and the only thing she has to do is have a ship, and she's that much better than everyone there, to the point where they even give her the exception. You can take off your helmet whenever you want. Really? She just has to have a ship to make her better. And I'm like, really? This is what we're focusing on? And you want people to join you?
Honestly, the example of Mandalorian honor and pride that they're trying to lay down is not the brand that I think it should be. There's no reason for anybody in the audience to believe that the group that the covert of Mandalorians are being hunted down by anybody, that they have any reason that they need to be in hiding, that anybody is after them. Like, the reputation around Mandalorians has been basically like benevolent, but somebody to be feared, not necessarily. Like, it's not like they're a group of Jedi hiding out in a cave so they don't get caught and killed. Like, that's just not the case. Like, they're like, why are they hiding? Like, we've never really established why they're having to hide out. Why were they in the sewers beforehand? It's like, none of them are criminals as far as we know. Like we haven't gotten like an enemy. And if it's the Empire, well, the Empire's gone, and we have now clearly established that there is plenty of people out there who are willing to back Mandalorians just for like, you've got planets that are like, oh yeah, we'll hire a bunch of Mandalorians to be our peacekeepers. We'll give them sovereignty, whatever we got to do. It's like, so he's like, okay, so what are you guys hiding from? Like, I mean, we never got that, much less why they need to hide on such a hostile area that also, guess what? Because the rebels had a droid there, they knew where it was the whole time. It's like, okay, well, if the main law of the galaxy now knows exactly where they are, Okay, so if they were being so hunted, if they needed to be hidden, like why are they? Why isn't there just a platoon of the New Republic showing up here to arrest all these people or something like I'm not getting on board with like the secrecy of the Mandalorians at this point. And then as soon as they get a new home, they're like, fuck this place. We're gonna go take back Mandalore. They're like, for fucking what? For what? It's like you've been spending your entire life talking about how it's been glassed, and like the surface of it wasn't exactly in great shape. But I mean, I guess if nobody wants anything with it and you just like you're just your home planet, I'm like, fine, go right for it. But you mean to tell me that like throughout all this, you guys never sent a fucking probe
Right.
to check this shit out? Like
Literally, all it takes
nobody
is
got
one guy
curious.
to go there and
Yeah,
do a 5-second air test to figure out it's not poisoned.
nobody got curious at all about what was going on Mandalore
Not
at
even
all until now.
raiders or pirates or
Nothing.
anything. It's so that's one part of the season, and they keep on hinting to taking back Mandalore is the whole point of the season. But we're what, 6 episodes in, 8 episodes? I think we're 6 episodes in,
Yeah.
and that's still like not where we are. Also, I don't know if I told you this or if I told Michael this, but the whole thing of how does Bo-Katan get the sword back? So the second episode, Mines of Mandalore, he has the the dark saber. It's clear he can barely use it when he's using it.
Yeah.
He gets bested by some creature. Bo-Katan then bests the creature and uses it to get them out. And I'm like, that's how she gets it back. And I don't know if I told you this or Michael this, but whoever I told, they're like, no, it can't be that. Like, that's too simple. She has to best Din Djarin in combat.
I don't remember you telling me that, but I
I
probably
told
would have said that.
somebody in a
I
long,
probably
maybe it
would
was
have said the
Alan,
same thing. I probably
but
would have said the same thing, but like, God, I
4
hope that's not
episodes
how they do
later,
it.
that's literally how they do it. And I'm like, well,
Dude, I was
I'm
so
happy that I called it, but it's so anticlimactic. I mean, it's just like, oh, okay, here you go, Now she has
of
it.
all people. Now again, we're running into the same problem. The people who have not seen Rebels don't understand, or even Clone Wars, because Darksaber made quite a few appearances there too. The people who haven't seen that don't understand that Bo-Katan, of all people, should have been far more hesitant to accept it under those circumstances, given how she got it last time through Sabine, just giving it to her, and that causing all of this chaos. I was like, no, you should, like, that guy was right. You should have been fighting Din Djarin. And it seemed like that was the route that she was going to go when we first saw her in the show, because she was like not super stoked
She
about him.
was pissed at the end of
Yeah,
the last season.
she was ready to get rid of him and like actually challenge him. And honestly, I believed that she could.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that she could, because like, and we talked about this in the first season of Mandalorian. It's like the trailer made him seem like this crazy badass and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, he only seems to be a badass when it comes to drunken, dumb bounties that he's trying to collect.
Yeah.
Everybody else, he's getting knocked on his ass all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so I really feel like Bo-Katan could have easily taken him down.
Yes.
Like, so why not have the fight? Why not have the dispute? It wouldn't ruin the relationship between him and Bo-Katan, because Din would, like, as a Mandalorian, would respect it. And he also doesn't want to be the ruler of Mandalore anyways. Like, he would have fought. He would have tried. He would have failed. It's like, based off of any evidence of his current fighting skills. And like, that conflict would have been fine. But if anything, like, have that sow the seeds around, like, because Tar Vizsla he thinks that he should have the Darksaber. It's like he was still in that fight, but you had him fighting Din in Boba Fett because you decided to give a couple episodes completely to Mandalorian in that show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
which they didn't even reference at the beginning of this season. Nothing. So anybody that hasn't seen Boba Fett, I can imagine they'd be like, wait, what?
I completed my task, but he returned to me. That was literally all they said about it. I'm like, fucking.
I feel like there should have been a Poe Dameron and Grogu has returned, you know.
Right. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just been
But so they fast forward to the latest episode, last week's episode, Guns for Hire, and Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are sent by the Mandalorian clan to go after these other Mandalorians and try to recruit them. These other Mandalorians who apparently have their own ship, who apparently are living well, doing their own thing,
I
but
think
they're
this
going to
is like
want to
the
come
fleet
live
that
in
they
a cave.
captured from
Yeah.
season 2. Like I
Yeah,
think this
they're
is
going to
like the
want to come
subset of what
live
they
in a
did.
cave with you. You don't even have a ship.
Well, they don't have to live in a cave anymore. Like
Still,
they've got their own. They got some real estate now.
So before they can go talk to him, though, they have to do a side quest for Lizzo and Jack Black.
Fucking dumbest side quest
So
that they could
dumb.
come up with. It was such a
So
waste
dumb
of
that
time.
even the writers were like, "We're not even going to make them try. We're just going to hand them the clues. They're going to go to point A to point B to point C, and then it's going to be done. And then we're going to throw in 3 megastars." Just for shits and giggles, you know, and it's just like, okay,
And
great.
they're gonna phone it the fuck in.
I mean,
Like,
Jack Black always has that. Lizzo.
Jack Black was 100% being Jack Black, and I didn't expect
Sure.
anything different from him.
And Lizzo was on the same, you know,
Lizzo is not an actress.
She's done some decent SNL sketches, but it was to that level. And then Christopher Lloyd was just also there. And why was he a bad guy? Because. And then that was the end of that. And then
somebody said it was like watching an episode of Scooby-Doo, and they half expected Christopher Lloyd to be like,
yeah,
if I hadn't, I would have gotten away with it too if it hadn't been for you meddling Mandalorians.
Right. And we get some cameos from prequel droids, and there's Droid Bar, and the droid
bar was so fucking dumb.
It's so dumb.
There was always a context around how droids can't think. In Star
now
Wars.
Now they're ashamed of the people that make them look bad and shit. And
now they have a nightlife.
Yeah.
Like, fucking what?
And
no, you do what you're programmed to do, and that's it.
It's just, yeah. Anyway, so that whole side quest comes and goes as quick, you know, and then we finally get to the Mandos. And yeah, Bo-Katan has that fight with what's his face, and she bests him pretty easily. And he's like, you should be fighting him. He's the one. The whole reason we left you is because you let this dude take the Darksaber from you, and you didn't really do anything. And then, like you just said,
they're all okay with a fucking loophole too. That pissed me off so much.
It made no sense that they would be okay with that. In fact, they should be more mad at her.
The fact that they believed him.
How did he not just believe? He could have just made that shit up, you know. Like, they didn't witness it. It was the only 2 people there were Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, and they're just like,
Grogu ain't snitching. Grogu ain't saying shit.
So that's it. I mean, if everybody I told that theory to was like, that's weak. If they all said that's weak, the Mandos didn't think it was weak. They're just like, yeah, all right.
Dude, like I'm telling you, man, they're phoning it in. And if they're coming out with a movie, that was another thing that came out in Star Wars Celebration, is that the logical next step was to finish out the Mandalorian story arc with a movie.
Now, that's all they said.
That's all they said.
And my response to that is, they didn't say theatrical movie. And to be fair, a lot of this Disney Plus stuff, if you just put a couple episodes together, it'd be feature movie length. So who knows what that means?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, we need to get ready for a big silver screen reveal.
We can't afford another 8-hour season, so we're just going to do a movie.
Yeah, pretty disappointing though. Wasn't super excited about that. Honestly, the most exciting thing out of Star Wars Celebration, aside from Ahsoka, was just like the next season of Visions. Because Visions actually had the first season of Visions, and it's weird to even call it a season, because it was not like a continuous story. It was like individual shorts in the Star Wars universe. Well, not even canonic, not even canon Star Wars stories, but they were like, it was like good Star Wars storytelling in a different way, and it was entertaining. And like, that's what I'm getting more into now, is like these independent offshoots. It was like far away from the franchise, and that was great. The only other piece of Star Wars content that I'm looking forward to is Jedi Survivor, which is the next Cal Kestis game. And didn't get a whole lot out of that for Star Wars Celebration, at least not that I was like looking for it super hard. We did get a trailer, which looks fucking excellent. I'm so stoked for that game. But yeah, Visions looks good. Visions looks like it's going to be good again.
It does look good. Another good mix of animation styles and yeah.
I mean, anime was always a big thing. It was always something that Star Wars fans were wanting.
Yeah, and then we also got a trailer for Indiana Jones, which looks
fucking Dial of Destiny is a stupid name.
Still a stupid name. I still can't tell if it's going to be a bunch of flashbacks or actual time travel. Either way, it looks interesting. I'll see it. It's supposedly the longest Indiana Jones movie they've ever made. Don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Like, was this the last movie? Was there any comments about that? About this being the last installment?
I don't think so. I think that's what they're hinting, but of course that's how they sell it. You know, I don't think they officially said this is the finale. But trying to think, is there anything else? Because we still have Guardians of the Galaxy. We still have excuse me, Dungeons and Dragons to talk about.
I mean, there was another Guardians trailer, but yeah, I mean, I think that was it. I think that was the most of what they were saying. Oh, they also said that a Lando Calrissian series is still in the works. Fucking dumb. Why?
Starring Donald Glover. So
I mean, good for him, but like you guys tried that with the Han Solo movie, and you guys flubbed it.
Yeah,
part of Lando Calrissian's like allure was simply Billy D. Williams being awesome. And
they also said Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi is getting a third season. Skeleton Crew, they showed a little footage for it. That's set to arrive in 2023. At some point.
Nothing really overwhelming though. The Ahsoka was the biggest news, I would say. I don't know if Daisy Ridley's collecting a paycheck.
This is what they said about the Acolyte that is a little concerning to me. The Acolyte showrunner breaks down, which says that the show will be part Frozen, part Kill Bill.
What?
Yeah, this is the quote. So much of it was about the sister relationship. So much of it was about the villain actually being a powerful, misunderstood woman. There was so much of it that I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe that it was a cartoon with music. It was hitting me on such a deep level and yet servicing the genre so well. As for Kill Bill, I think it's really good reference for the modern day martial arts film. Obviously, Tarantino took inspiration from a lot of movies that our action team and a lot of our design team pulled from, which is stuff from Shaw Brothers to Akira and his samurai films, but also films like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So the Acolyte was pitched as part Frozen, part Kill Bill. Okay. Well, we'll see.
That's
I feel like that's a Star Wars.
You know what?
That's a Disney nod. You know, that's a Frozen for our parent company.
What that makes me think of is that I can't remember what restaurant did it. It was a fast food place, but not too terrible long ago. They came. I think it was Wendy's. No, I think it was Burger King. They came out with the bacon sundae. It was an ice cream sundae with an ice cream sundae with caramelized bacon. And everybody's just like, well, both of those things are good on their own, but what in the fuck do you think is going to happen mixing the two?
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, it was the weirdest fucking combo I've ever heard of in my life. And it didn't last very long, so it can't have been that good. That's what that makes me think of. That's what the Acolyte's making me think
of. Weird
combo. Frozen and Kill Bill, that is a bacon sundae.
Yeah. So take that as you will, I guess.
God damn it.
Uh,
God damn it. This is such a weird time to be a Star Wars fan.
yeah,
Oh,
but
man.
it's a good time to be a Dungeons and Dragons fan,
Fuck
at
yeah,
least
it
in my
is.
opinion,
Fuck yeah, it
because
was.
for once they actually got it right. I guess. I mean,
Dude,
it's not doing Super Mario Brothers money, but it did pretty well in its opening weekend, and the majority of people that saw it liked it. So,
this is what happens when you create a movie that's inside of an IP, do proper job of giving homage to the source material, not take yourself too seriously, and just go in to entertain. Like like that is Dungeons and Dragons in a nutshell. It's like if you have never played a game of Dungeons and Dragons in your life, I'm trying to get back into a game, but there was some stuff that I recognized. Some of it felt like some of the old parties that I have been in before. Like it was a great reference to the party dynamic, and and anybody who's been a fan of Dungeons and Dragons their entire life is gonna like get a bunch of the references they have and have a good time. Meanwhile, you've got people who've never played the game before going to be able to go in there and just be entertained by it. Like,
but I think
and
that's also the
it was so
evolution.
refreshing.
I mean, if you go back and you look at the 2000 film, and then you look at the straight to DVD 2005 and 2012 films, while they had some comedy in it, I think they still were trying to go the Lord of the Rings route, the more somber, the more serious route.
Trying to
And
make it overly epic.
over the last decade, people like Critical Role has brought this fun uh, comedy route to it, and I think
Critical. Yep.
that has did I say Critical Realm? I meant Critical Role.
No, you said
Critical
Critical Role.
Okay, Critical Role and all these other offshoots, and I mean there's a whole genre of YouTube videos dedicated to stuff like that. But the majority of those themes are it's fun and it's funny. And they brought that in to Dungeons and Dragons. They had a solid cast. This is a solid cast. Um, and it was funny and it was fun. And yes, it's based in nerddom, but I think a lot of things, especially with the rise of Marvel and everything, when done correctly and when mixed with a little fun and a little funny, can bring people in that might not have signed up for this initially. And I have no background in Dungeons and Dragons or any of those style games. I just didn't grow up with people that did it. I'm kind of sad that I didn't, because I feel like it's a good time, and maybe I'll get into it sometime.
Do you want to get into? I'm trying to get a game going.
Maybe I wouldn't be
that would
opposed
be
to it.
that would be a great thing, and it'd be a great justification for all the fucking dice I've bought.
But I went into this knowing that I didn't have that connection to it, but I've seen the other films, and I was like, this has to try to strive to be above those other films. And I feel like from the first frame to the last frame, it really was. It was embracing its fantasy realm, but sprinkling in this levity and this comedy, and it was just fun. I was cracking up. I saw this right before I got really sick, thank God, and I'm so glad I saw it, because I was having a really good time. It was a fun time, and I got this big ass dice. Where's my dice thing? Got this.
Yeah, you actually got a hold of one. Yeah, those things sold out pretty quick.
Yeah, I got this big ass dice thing from AMC that you could put popcorn in, that I'll never put popcorn in. But yeah. apparently you could actually play it, and I'm like, there's no way in hell you could actually play this, because it's it's hard plastic, but it's plastic. This thing will break by the third throw, I'm guessing. But it's fun. It's cool.
You throw that on a mattress, you'll be okay. But
yeah. I liked it. What did you think of it?
So I was on call when it came out, so I had to wait until the following weekend. When we booked our tickets at the time, the theater that we normally go to did not have any showings available for it, and we weren't sure if it was a glitch or what was going on. We weren't sure what was happening, so we actually ended up going to an AMC, and the only one that we were able to go to that wasn't in Council Bluffs that actually had show times was the AMC at Westroads.
One down the street from me. Yeah,
and that fucking sucked.
It's a terrible theater. I go there as a last resort, and I live 2 blocks from it. Last resort.
It was a last resort.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day that we were there, like, so we get in there and we've got this fucking meth addict protection screen that all of the clerks are hiding behind. It's like the glass wall, and they're talking through the speaker and the intercom and all that stuff. There's just like the single slot down in there. It's like, what the fuck are you worried about here? Like, what's going on? And then they have like, we had to like read our confirmation number to this person because they didn't have any way to scan or anything like that. Like, that technology just like that's like nano robots to these people apparently. Then we get in there, and the concession area is like somebody just like had a popcorn and soda fight. So there's just shit spilled everywhere. We're just like, what's going on?
Always like that.
There's nobody doing anything about it. And a bunch of children running around and stuff like that. A bunch of broken arcade machines in the corner. And then we get into the theater, and they've got like the old seats. I'm spoiled at this point with the dream loungers that are available at most theaters now. So we had like the old style stadium theater seats, which wasn't that bad once we got into it, and a regular small size screen. So there's a chance that I'm going to go back to this movie because the run has been extended because the movie's been doing pretty good. So I'm going to try and go and see it sometime. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it this week, but I'm going to try and go back to see it because I believe it deserves a second watch. But even the first watch was like wildly entertaining compared to my expectations. I went in here with a pretty low bar set for what I was going to get myself into. I had heard some good stuff. I had seen some good reviews, but I was like, okay, let's go in here cautiously. Like, the theater's been burning me lately, so we're gonna take a chill pill here. But yeah, I went in, and just like from the get-go, it was just like that dumb, quirky humor that I'm a sucker for sometimes. I think Chris Pine did a great job of playing like the like, he was dumb but competent character, you know. It was like, yeah, it was like but the big thing was that like all the characters were relatable. And I think that was like a point that a lot of people, I was like, the story wasn't stupid high stakes. Like, they never had the intention of going in there because they needed to save the world or anything like that. It was literally just a dad trying to win back his daughter after being screwed over by an old colleague who is just like them, is just more of a scam artist. Like, he's just another thief. He's a piece of shit. Like, they got some, they had some questionable friends, but they also had some really good friends, and they made some new ones, and it was just like everybody had like kind of like a relatable nature to them. It's like, and you always want to root for the underdog, you know, like, like if they had brought in a bunch of characters who are like super crazy good and never like, and didn't need each other in order to succeed, like, that would have been that would have taken away from the magic of the movie, I think. But everybody like brought something in, and nobody was like a dead-on expert at everything that they did. Like, and even when they were fighting the big bad at the end, like, there was an element of teamwork that they had to invoke in order to be successful. And yeah, that was that it was a refreshingly good time. And I will be buying this movie. Like, this will end up a piece of physical media that I will own, which these days is high praise.
Now, sadly, I have heard nothing but good word of mouth about this film.
Why is that sad?
I said, sadly, word of mouth hasn't really driven people to see it, because if I'm reading things correctly, it still hasn't made back his budget. I don't know why someone allowed a movie like this to be $150 million budget, but that's what it's reported to. That's what it's reported to be, and it's so far made 123 worldwide. So
I will say though that the CGI in this movie was way better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it was
way better than I was expecting it to be.
And when it wasn't that great, it was funny that it wasn't that great. Like, that was like part of it, you know. And so
it was like, I know, I'm pretty sure I know the scene that you're referencing.
Yeah, but like it had a strong opening weekend and almost made 40 grand in its opening weekend domestically. But its second weekend, it's only made about half that. So it's got 61 million domestic, 61 international, making it 123 worldwide. So that's still under its budget. Maybe it'll make its budget, but breaking even isn't enough these days. So
No.
people are still calling it the biggest bomb of the year, which is sad because I think a lot of people like it. I wonder what the cinema score for this is.
Do you think that the name Dungeons and Dragons implies like a certain level of like nerdiness to where like it might have been gatekeeping itself from like the greater crowd?
Sure. I mean, it's got an A- cinema score. That's insane. That's really a high. That's great. That's a
Say
great cinema score.
it's sitting at a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. 95% liked it on Google, 72% on Metacritic, and 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb.
I feel like that's why it's not getting drowned in negative press, because the majority of people that have watched it have liked it. It's just not enough people have gone to it. Yeah, it's sitting at a 90% tomato reader with 94% audience score.
Certified,
That's high.
certified fresh.
That is
Certified fresh.
high.
It is right up in there.
So maybe you just said it. It got an extended run. Maybe word of mouth will get people to go see it. I think it deserves it. Jeffrey, the dragon, though, agreed. I don't even think there's enough to really talk about spoilers. I just think that it's a good movie, and I think people should go see it. And this is coming from someone who was not invested in it at all. And I saw this lineup of characters, and I said, while everyone on this screen is recognizable, no one screams lead. Unfortunately, even Chris Pine.
It's an ensemble movie for sure.
None of these are big stars on their own. None of these can really carry a film. Even Chris Pine can really carry a film on their own. So I was thinking maybe that's a reason why people aren't flocking to this, because there's not a huge star in it. But the ensemble is the star. They really are funny. Even the Justice Smith kid that I really don't care for in the Jurassic World films, he was hilarious. He was great. He
was much better suited in this role than he was in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the gal from
Jurassic World,
Sophia Lillis, she's great. Yeah. The Bridgerton dude, he's great. Michelle Rodriguez is always wonderful. Hugh Grant
was having a blast in this movie. He was having so much cheeky fun in this.
It's good. It's good. It's well made. It's well made.
There's a particular scene that I'm gonna slightly talk about. I'm not gonna call it a spoiler, but they have a druid character. You've seen that in the trailer. Mm-hmm. There's a sequence in this that is like a one-shot take, which was an absolutely excellent piece of content. And like it was one of the better CGI moments of the entire movie. But like like the character is transforming through all of these various different animals and stuff like that, trying to escape in an escape chase scene. And throughout the entirety of that, like I'm picturing somebody like a group of people sitting at a table rolling dice, desperately hoping that they get the fucking roll that they want, while the DM is just throwing fucking everything at them. And like there were so many moments in this movie like that, to where if you are a D&D player, like you're gonna know these feelings. These are gonna feel very familiar to you. Some of the interactions between the characters are gonna feel like that annoying fucking party member here you have in your group, who's just asking you like the most obvious fucking questions that they know the answer to already. Like they're like, and even when they had moments where you felt like this might be getting just a little bit too zany, the humor in it was so well balanced that it just kind of like, it just felt right.
Yeah, I believe in today's culture, there's two ways you could have done this movie. You could have done it the way they did it here, where it's in universe, it's got nods to gameplay, and it's got nods to how people go through the thing, and how the ensembles, and how people can they mess up, and then you got to find a way to fix it, and there's nods to that. Or you could have gone the Jumanji Stranger Things routes, where it's literally somebody playing the game, and then you see the characters act out what's being rolled and stuff like that. And I think Jumanji has shown that that's a marketable movie style. But I did like this. I did like that it was in universe. I think they pulled it off well, and I had a fun time. And I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel with these people in it, or just returning to this land. But
The
yeah,
other good thing is that they didn't spend like a fuckload of time trying to like world build.
they really
Like
didn't.
they were just like, hey, it's in a fantasy world. If you can't get with that, we can't help you. And they just kind of like rolled through it. And the world felt just like natural. You're just like, yeah, this is all right. It felt familiar even. You're just like, all right, cool. Yeah, this is
This
which
wasn't.
is a world that D&D has lived in for a long time. Like it's
Yeah.
familiar fantasy territory. So it was not a huge suspension of disbelief to believe anything that was going on.
This wasn't some huge undertaking of a first film that like World of Warcraft was, that still at the end of it felt like it was building towards the real story in the next movie that never got made. You know, this was simple, to the point. They really did not waste time throwing you into it. I mean,
no, they did not. Like
they
this
threw you
movie
into
was
it.
long. Like what was it? This was just under 2 hours or just over 2 hours. The pacing felt like on point. I literally had no complaints about this movie other than
it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It did not feel like a 2-hour film.
No, like the only complaint I had about it was like there's a character who is kind of like the main focal point for the main character. I feel like she didn't get quite enough time. But I don't know what they would have cut from the movie in order to include more time with her, because like otherwise you would have overinflated the time frame. So
yeah.
But even that, like, I was like, you know what? I'm here for it. Like, we're like, you guys did what you had to do. There's an absolutely hysterical, like, when you hear Dungeons and Dragons and like you see the one trailer shot of the dragon swooping down, you're like, okay, it's going to be a bunch of epic dragon stuff. They're going to try and compete with Game of Thrones. Nope, they took the funny route too. And
but it worked.
And honestly, I've never had a moment in a movie theater where Cece has like laughed harder than at the dragon scene that is in this movie. Like it was so well put together. And yeah, I'm excited to watch this one again.
It was a solid film. I have been, like I
said, solid 9 out of 10.
I've been sick for the last 3 weeks. I've been binging a lot of TV and a lot of shows. I was thankfully able to see this before I was really sick, and it was in an empty theater, so I felt good going. But I did see like films like 65, and I saw Shazam 2 and stuff like that. And this film was better than a lot of the stuff I've seen. And so
Shazam 2 has been having a hard go of it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it didn't bomb as much as this one did. So I'm really hoping this gets some legs because based on word of mouth. How many films has this kind of word of mouth? You know, has this kind of praise behind it? An A- cinema score
in recent years? I can't think of
not a lot. And Dungeons and Dragons getting a 90 and a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know who is in their marketing team, but they need to just push that hard. Like, this is the film you haven't heard about, and yet the people that had it are praising it as the best film of the year.
That's kind of the thing. If it's not like a big franchise title, I'm wondering if these studios are just like, it's like, oh well, we're like, there've been people talking about that, to where like one-off films like this, or not even one-offs, like I could definitely see them doing more films in this range.
There you go. Jeffrey went to see it because of word of mouth.
There you go. Good stuff. So, like I went to see it because of word of mouth. It wasn't just because like I knew we were going to want to talk about it on here, but like I had like, I mean, you had mentioned that it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a couple other people say that they were going to go and see it and they were expecting it to be a good time. It was like I literally went out of curiosity and word of mouth myself.
I mean, a friend of mine was like, which movie are we seeing first, Dungeons and Dragons or John Wick? And I'm like, Dungeons and Dragons, man. Like, he was surprised that I said that over John Wick. And I'm like, I'm sure John Wick will be good, but I'm more intrigued by this Dungeons and Dragons film. And I had a really good time. So,
have you seen John Wick now? Do I need to go see that one?
No, I haven't seen it yet because I was sick. I was supposed to see it with him this weekend, and I was, so we're going to see it next weekend.
I haven't seen the third one yet. I need to watch the third one.
I enjoyed this.
I started them again, but
I would give it a 9 out of 10 as well. I think more people should be like Jeff and go see it. I don't think I don't think the average person would walk out of this disappointed. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very entry friendly.
I like
And
Jeremy.
good
I like
cast.
I like Jeremy John's description of it, like because he gave it his rating. It was like this is a good time, no alcohol required.
Yeah.
Like you can just go in there, be entertained, go in there with like a low bar of expectations, just go in, have a good time at the theater, and like enjoy watching something that isn't part of some greater fucking universe that you have to watch 14 movies afterwards or 6 shows beforehand. Like
Right. And
go
for
in there,
once,
have that refreshing one and done feeling, and walk out entertained.
and the vibe of the trailer was the vibe of the film. The
Yes, it
trailer
was.
had levity and looked fun and looked fast paced and had a good soundtrack. So did the film.
That's another great point. Like he actually had a trailer that showed the movie as the movie was going
in
to
the
be.
light that it's going to be in.
Like,
Correct.
yeah, holy shit. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
God
So that's kind of unheard of sometimes.
Dude, that's a massive faux pas if you're in the movie industry now. You're not supposed to do that.
Right.
You're supposed to go in there making it seem they should have been making it seem like it was going to be a Lord of the Rings level epic and bring a bunch of people in there and then piss them all off.
Right.
That's probably why the movie has done so good with the people who have gone and see it, is because they didn't go in with any false expectations. They went in with an expectation and got exactly what that expectation was laid out to be. So, or at least that's how it worked for me. So,
yep, ditto.
I'm in there.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else.
Solid episode, honestly.
Yeah, I'll give reviews on Shazam 2 and other things later. Picard is also wrapping up, and I got plenty of amazing things to say about that. So maybe next week when
I might be able to comment on Shazam 2 without even going to the theater, because it sounds like it's hitting streaming here soon.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it hit digital already.
Yeah, it's not on HBO Max yet, but I imagine it will.
Oh no, it's not streaming.
On digital.
You can rent it. I wouldn't even rent it, but.
Oh really?
Oh, it was bad. I mean, like it wasn't bad. You know what? Never mind. I'll take that back. It wasn't bad.
You can't take it back now, man.
It wasn't
kind of out there now.
It just wasn't.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't good.
Just wasn't good. Like, and they were desperate. There's one huge cameo in the film that they put in the trailers because they were desperate. And
did they put it in the trailers?
Yes. At least they put it in the final trailer. And it's almost as long in the movie as it is in the trailer. It's very small, but it's just, like, I know Zachary Levi is desperately. I'll just say this really quick. I know Zachary Levi has desperately tried to go back to. I don't want to share screen anymore. Go back to this.
Yeah, he's been trying to get.
He's been trying to say, hey, I'm good friends with James Gunn, and even James Gunn has kind of said that Shazam has so far remained separate from the Snyderverse, that maybe we can find a way. I don't believe so. I think one of the it's kind of spoilery, but it's not spoilery. When adult Shazam is more childlike than child Shazam, it doesn't really work. When Billy Batson is more mature than adult Shazam, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And, I think some people liked the stupid, clumsy Shazam that was in the first one that was based on some of the modern renditions of the character. But a lot of people kind of missed the wisdom of Solomon Shazam. The child that grew into this wisdom of Solomon, wise superhero adult. And I feel like Zachary Levi has this dumb, clumsy, childlike persona down so much that now that Billy Batson is on the verge of turning 18 in the show, he feels more mature in human form than he does in Shazam form. And that just got old really fast. So the movie in itself was not terrible. I thought it was a decent. So you go. He was goofier than his younger version. It's kind of confusing. There was even a point in the film where the mom was like, "Can I see Billy Batson as Billy Batson?" and it was almost like she was saying, I need to talk to the mature one of the two, So it wasn't terrible as a sequel to the first one, in that it kept the same tone, and that, like in the first one, there were some actual deaths that were kind of like, oh snap, they did that in the kids film. And the villains weren't terrible, and the graphics weren't even terrible. The graphics were better than the Rock's film. What was the Rock's film?
Black Adam.
The graphics were better than Black Adam, and I believe the film was better than Black Adam.
Oh, but well, that isn't hard.
That's a low bar. That's a low bar.
That's a very low bar.
So, in terms of, fleeting films of the DC universe that is and will not be soon, it just feels like it fits in that category. So it wasn't amazing, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't really that good either. It was just kind of there. So
I'm trying to find the cameo in these trailers that you're talking about.
It's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's in it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and she's in one of the TV spots or one of the recent trailers. So they spoiled that in the week before it released because the pre-sale tickets were very small. So they did the exact same thing as Black Adam. They spoiled Henry Cavill being in the film the week before to try to get more people to see it. And it's literally the same length of time. Like, she literally comes in. It's not a post-credit scene. She does come in at the end of the film, but it's very brief. And it's almost like, and it was almost like the nail in the coffin, because until this point, everything that Zachary Levi and James Gunn had said, that this was really separate from the Snyderverse. Well, now it's not. So now you kind of, did yourself in, I guess. I don't know.
I was looking at trailers and I didn't see anything that was like, hey, what's up?
Maybe it was a TV spot though.
But, yeah, I just ended up Googling it when you told me that. Well, yeah, spoiler alert.
Whoops.
Well, I mean, I feel like that movie was probably pretty well and done by the time James Gunn came in and took over everything.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see this new director. Cece was just asking me if Aquaman 2 is actually still coming, and that was like another. I mean, it could still be on.
It's still coming, but I believe it could face the same fate. I think The Flash is the only film that might rise above this because of the return of Michael Keaton's Batman. But when James Gunn straight up comes out and says, hey, after these films, we're starting over, it's going to really cut a lot of people's need to see these films in the theaters, So I think Aquaman 2, I mean, that was $1 billion film. I think it's going to have a record, a sophomore bomb compared to its first film. There's no way it's hitting $1 billion.
Well,
unless they did some huge campaign where they're like, "Oh, you don't like Amber Heard anymore? Yeah, we totally fuck her up in this film or something." I don't know, but
well, they did. The latest bit of news is that they've moved their date up. So the upcoming Hollywood movie starring Jason Momoa, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, has finally announced the new release date. The movie is the sequel to the movie in 2018. Blah blah blah. It was set to hit screens on Christmas Day of 2022, but due to the lack of time for the visual effect team to get together and work because of the C-19 virus and much needed lockdown, the release date was pushed to March 17th, 2023. But this time, the date didn't work for the movie's release, which is why the release was once again rescheduled to Christmas Day this year. So they basically said, well, fuck the VFX team, get it done. Cut them off by 3 months. That's... Whew.
So when's it coming out?
Christmas Day of 2022.
You mean 2023?
Or 2023, yeah.
So they gave him a year. Because it's supposed to come out in Christmas 2022.
Right. Yeah. My bad.
So it's coming out after The Flash? Okay. For some reason, I thought it was coming out before The Flash, and The Flash was going to be the last movie in the Snyderverse-esque saga.
Kind of what I thought they were building up to as well, but I guess that's not the case.
Maybe they just don't give a fuck anymore, and they just have to release it at some point.
They just have to get it out there. They just have to get it out there. They don't want to piss off Jason Momoa. He looks like he could snap you like a twig.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think that kind of wraps this episode up, guys. We appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, making sure that you don't miss out on future episodes. These VFX teams are under pressure from what I heard, especially with these dude, the VFX community is getting fucked over in these comic book genre films. They are getting slammed into the wall, and it's bullshit. Yeah. And we've done an episode on that. Find that in our previous lives. So yeah, thank you for subscribing. Please hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. We're still on a sporadic schedule as far as the podcast goes, so don't want to miss out on future episodes as they're coming in. Hit us up in those comments. Let us know what you guys thought of Star Wars Celebration and what you guys think of the future of Star Wars as things go. Be a part of the conversation. Hit us up on social media at Nerfherders Crew on Twitter. And don't forget to hit that like button. If you don't like this button, if you didn't like this video, hit the dislike button. Be honest, we can take it. Until next time.
See ya. See ya, Jeff.